Welcome to Poet's Corner by James R. Burns. This is a poem entitled The Moon God. To the mystery of the black velvet above, cast that linen glow upon my glare. I search for your beckoning love. Place a gem in my eyes and take me there. Let me dance with your face of fruitful play and shed tears of fantastic belief. Make me wait through the pain of the hurried day till your gown touches down and becomes my relief. From a shadow with your magical lunar wand, turn the clouds to silver-kissed cotton. Build me a way to your heart of joy and beyond. Let nothing dissolve into the dust of forgotten. Let me pray on your feast of a chill delight as I walk your silent street. Immortal land of 1,000 lights brings creatures to where they meet. Nocturnal beasts gather a circle upon midnight meadows. Subconscious darkness binds these minds. Sacrificial mantra beats the grounds. Hot fire burns diamond-clustered skies. Blood aside, the great phoenix rising. All now bow, for he is speaking. Sabbath day, world of create, welcome children to the day of escape. Grand deity of the night, deliver your glory, cloaked in majestic power. Pearl white marble flanks your figure as I enter the 11th hour. Grant me an Alcyon dream, set me a sail on the sea that gives, make me a goddess to have and to hold, shape a home where we may live. On a shiver of desire, I turn around, lavender scent rises from the ground. Cool mystical breeze finds my face, a pale vision of beauty draped in lace. Muted as stone on a dusky hill. All I want now is for us to be still, to be alone and yet so nigh to the ashen jewel high in the sky. Thank you.
Well, that's all we've got time for this week. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you all next week. Very good.
Sky.
Well done, James.
Sky.
Very impressed.
My creative days.
When did you write that? How long ago did you write that?
93.
Back
1993.
Back at Hacienda, off his tits.
Back at Hacienda, just after a night out.
I'm disappointed you had to read it. I figured you'd have memorised that.
I memorised it, yeah. Well, it's been about 10 years since I, last read it. Inspired by James Morris.
There's a photography project there. That's a wonderful book with that in and some of your photographs.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm thinking about. Yeah.
I think that's a really good idea, actually.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Very talented.
Thank you very much. That's my creative side. What we talked about last time. Feeling that creative juices. Right, a lot. I've got a big.
Do you still write anything?
No, I don't. I haven't for about 10 years, and I should do.
Why is that?
Life's changed, really. I'm with the missus now for the last 10 years, so coincides with that. Used to live on my own, nothing better to do but to write poetry.
I'd imagine the poems would have a different meaning and a different edge. Now you're married.
Perhaps so.
Yeah,
perhaps so. Yeah.
Wonderful.
So next week, Darren's going to be doing some tap dancing at the beginning.
I've got the spoons for next week.
Oh,
can you? Playing the old spoons. Yeah.
Get in. Yeah.
Can you play a spoon? Seriously?
No.
I really thought you could.
Put your pearly coat on. Do you remember that though? That was a thing back in the day, wasn't it? When I was a kid, and then you had people older than me. So I suppose they'd be in their 70s or 80s now. Yeah, when they used to get pissed up at a party, the old spoons used to come out, and they all thought they could play it, and none of them could.
And a comb and paper.
That sounds like a very southern party.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And they'll die.
Jellied eels.
Bit of down the Lambeth. What was it? Doing the Lambeth Walk.
Doing the Lambeth Walk. Yeah.
Early Queens.
Rabbit.
Don't talk about
Rabbit. Yeah. Oh, that you must have had that when I was a kid. That would always come on, a bit of Chaz and Dave. As soon as people have had a bit to drink, Chaz and Dave used to come on. Oh dear. So how are we all this week? That was really good, James. I have to say. How are we all this week? We all good?
I'm wonderful now after that.
Yeah.
Wonderful after that poem.
Yeah. A good week, not a bad week.
Oh,
what was that?
It's Jim Morrison back from grave. Oh, Jim! Sorry, pal. No offence, Carl.
So before we get started this week, just want to say a couple of things. Firstly, I'm sure we all share this sentiment. Get well soon, Lynn Luxon-Jones. She posted in the comments last week that she'd been tested positive for COVID. Hopefully she's not suffering too bad, and hopefully if she's feeling anything at all, then she'll get better soon. So we all say that. Secondly, first day of lockdown again. What's that all about? How are you all faring? How are you? What's your experience of the new lockdown?
No difference to me at all.
Yeah.
Nothing changed for me.
No,
What lockdown?
Just look out the window and see the mist and the fog first thing in the morning. That's a great start to the lockdown, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can get out, can't you? Shoot it.
Yeah, not when I'm working.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, but as the way I read the rules, that you can go out for recreational purposes and be out all day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as you're outside, I mean, I'm snowed under with stuff at the moment, so I don't know, fun enough, how much I can actually get out. But that's the way I looked at it. So if you was out all day with a camera and you're out in the woods or on the beach,
I think the key is local, though. I mean, I don't know where that's come from. Local.
Yeah.
I know Tom released a video, didn't he? And he made a point that he's keeping local, but
what's
where's
the
it say
radius?
that?
Yeah.
Where does it say that? I mean, I want to get up to the lakes, no doubt about it. I'm not going to go this weekend, but I'm seriously considering it next weekend.
It's a bit different though when you go at work all week and you're surrounded by people and you're going in
COVID.
shops for your butties or you're doing whatever else, and then you can't just go out and walk up a mountain or walk round. It's different this time.
It's common sense, Molly, yeah.
Exactly. Common sense has
it's
to prevail.
It's the backlash, though, isn't it?
I think
social media.
at the beginning of the first lockdown, we were so penned in, and everyone was following the rules, and there was a backlash on social media for anyone. But I think that this time round, kids are still in school, students are still at uni, most people are still at work. A lot of the things that were locked down last time haven't been locked down this time.
No.
And it almost feels like this has been a forced lockdown on behalf of the government, and they're not really behind it. I don't think it feels like they're feeling forced into doing it. So I think a lot of people are, whereas last time everyone was saying, I'm not going anywhere, I'm not doing anything. This time round people are like, well, everyone else is doing it, so
yeah, I get that feeling as well.
I'm personally not, but I can understand. I wouldn't begrudge other people. I think this time around.
I'd be surprised if it makes a major impact.
I don't think
in a
it
month's
will.
time.
No.
Fingers crossed it does. But
What else have we got?
On to happier topics.
Yeah, US elections.
Have you been tangled?
No.
So I tell you what, that is starting to worry me now. It really is. I mean, there's so much civil unrest, and whoever is announced the winner tomorrow, because we're recording this on Thursday, it's going to go crazy over there.
So divided, aren't they?
It really
Have you seen the country?
Yeah.
The map? It's just split. Red, blue either side, east and west.
I think the only way there wasn't going to be civil unrest is if one side won, whichever side won decisively, and because it's been so close, it's like straight away. Trump. To be honest with you, has been brewing up for this fraud for about the last month. He's been talking about postal votes for the last month. So I think historically the Democrats get more votes via the postal system, and because there's way more postal votes this year because of COVID and other things, he's been gearing up to call it a fraud for quite a while.
In terms of social photography, this is an absolute delight for a creative to get out and get in there with a camera. We're going to start seeing some iconic photographs soon. Well, we already have. Doing his little dance, Mr. Trump,
Looking at the Pubcast here, we've got our own little Donald Trump Republican going on here, and our own little Bin Laden, not Bin Laden, Joe Biden. sorry,
I'm not.
Jay.
No, that's it. I've got my limits.
Yeah,
That
we've
is a
got our
Freudian
blue
slip.
and our red there
Yeah,
going
we've got
on.
the blue and red above one another. So.
Yeah.
Oh, I see you mean, sorry.
Oh,
right,
it's
I'm with you
different for
there.
me.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm the Republican, am I?
You are, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting though, what you were saying there about photography, Manny. I think we've missed a massive opportunity to document the COVID crisis. You know, the pandemic. No, like you imagine.
I agree.
No one's been out in the
Silent
streets.
streets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No one's
Yeah.
been out in the
Silent
streets
cities.
and photographing.
You might not
all
have this
the-
opportunity again.
Yeah, photographing all the the lack of people, the signage.
I'm not entirely sure that's not entirely correct, because
No.
the Duchess of Cambridge has sponsored a project to do exactly that.
Yeah.
So it's
Okay.
got quite a lot of high-profile publicity, and the photography that I've seen so far that's been involved in that has been really quite powerful.
Yeah, evoking.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I was talking about us as a collective.
Us six.
Oh, us? Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
we've
yeah.
completely bollocksed it. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Actually, I
Just
did.
moan about it.
I did film the empty streets, but I didn't put it out because at the time, emotionally, there was people. We was under this idea that everyone was gonna die, and I didn't feel it was appropriate. So I might go back and do a little edit on some of that, where I was walking around the streets, and there was nothing, silence.
It's quite interesting, really, because although you know a lot of people might look at it and say, well, you're just taking advantage of the pandemic for your own publicity, there is a bit of a duty, perhaps,
Yes.
to document this sort
Document
of
it.
thing. You know, like people document wars, and it's not glorifying the violence and the horror. It's actually
It's recording history.
Knowledge.
yeah,
It's the eyes of history. The eyes of history. Yeah, like you say, the Duchesses, the competition, Dave. It's a lot of really powerful images.
We should try and get her on, because she's a keen photographer, I
I
understand.
think so. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
she told me
agree.
last time I spoke to her.
I'll have a word.
Yeah, sort it out.
Do you think we'd be able to kick her off in a few minutes, though? Would that be the
Yeah,
right
well,
thing
there's
to
only
do?
6 of us allowed to get together.
I don't know. I'll kick you lot off, and me and her can have a word. Sorry.
That's all right.
No, I'm not.
That's a knighthood scuppered.
I'm surprised you still got your head, mate. Talking about last week quickly before we go on to the main subjects. I wanted to say something really quickly about, we got quite a few comments in about our film photography discussion, which is brilliant, because you know that's the whole reason we have these discussions. We do the Pubcast is to interact with everyone, but I think maybe I might have been a bit misinterpreted when I was talking about it.
First?
Yeah, well, look,
Again,
I'm
I can't
free,
understand that.
I'm free
I know.
to. I'm happy to. I'll happily say that I do have an opinion, and I'm not always worried if I upset people. But in this
Not
instance, when
noticed.
I was saying, someone said to me that they found it, or someone said on the comments that I don't think they quite said they found it insulting, but they said that they weren't happy that I'd said that you would only do film photography to try and prove to everyone that you're a better photographer than other people. And what I was trying to say is that I would do film photography to prove to myself. I wouldn't think that people would do film photography perhaps to prove to themselves that they are a talented photographer and that they don't need all the bells and whistles that the digital camera can provide to still take good pictures. And that was the route I was going down. And if it came across that I was saying that people would do film photography to show off, then I'm sorry, that's not what I intended to say. So there you go.
Fine.
Yeah, that was terrible, Gary.
I'm surprised the amount of comments we got from film photographers or people that have shot it in the past or still shoot it. I didn't think it was that common.
I know. You'd have
Yeah.
to ask yourself, who with that calibre of photography is watching this rubbish?
Oh, very good, David. Wonderful that Gary. He did that in just a little micro sentence.
I know.
Take note.
He's good, isn't he? I know.
It was very good.
Yeah, he's good.
Boom.
So has anyone read any comments from last week that they want to talk about?
Yeah, I did reply to
Just now.
quite a few, but So I'm just going through them now.
I noticed Malcolm was more impressed with last week's than the week before. There was no criticism of us starting slowly. We were straight out of the blocks.
Straight in.
So that's good. Thank you, Malcolm.
I've got to apologise to Malcolm actually, because on my vlog he commented and I called him Martin Fowler instead of Malcolm Fowler.
Martin Fowler.
Malcolm.
Yeah,
What we'll do is we'll have one of them evenings where we'll get some stocks set up with Gary in them, and we can all throw wet sponges at him.
Cabbages.
Yeah, good idea. Probably
Good lad
it.
is Malcolm Fowler.
Yes, he is, and not Martin. Just to point out.
Yeah, but Martin was all right in EastEnders.
Paul D. Lewis says, "Do any of us guys know if Nev will be vlogging again? Does anyone know? Anyone spoke to Nev?
I haven't, but I know he's put an image out and he said he's starting off again. He's trying to get something out. Yeah, I think he's working on one. But it'd be nice to hear from you, Nev.
Did his channel go, by the way? Did it totally?
He got it back.
I got it recovered, right?
Yeah.
That's Nev Cartilage, by the way, just in case anyone's wondering.
I was hoping he was going to come and stay, because when the first lockdown happened, he was struggling to find somewhere to park up. And I said, well, you can come and live in our yard for a few months if you need to. But in the end, he must have got somewhere more civilised because he didn't come.
Is that so you could steal his camera and download all his images? Is that what it was?
Steal his channel.
Yeah. Oh, look at this lovely picture of some trees in the snow. I'm going to put that into Landscape Photography of the Year by Dave Jeffers.
Has anybody got their copy?
No, he's got it.
No, have you got it?
Yeah.
I can't see him. Can't see Darren.
Can't see it.
I'm on number 10, so I'm building up to it, Darren.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Why didn't we?
I ordered it about 3 weeks ago. I think because if you pre-ordered it, it was cheaper as well.
Yeah,
I think it was
15 quid.
I think I was 17. I think I paid for it, but so I've got mine. Got my copy.
Worth it? Is it, Darren? Good?
I don't know. I've not looked at it yet. It came.
Excellent.
It would be, but it literally came 2 days ago, and I've not been getting in till like 6:30, 7:15 every night this week. So I've literally not gone through it, but I will do over the weekend. I'll have a weekend in this weekend
to do a review. Do a review video of it.
Yeah, I know someone who's doing some good review videos at the moment.
Yes,
yeah, very
books.
good.
Darren's doing a lot of book reviews.
Darren J. Spoonley, he's got his podcast is out tomorrow morning with the godfather of vlogging, Thomas Eaton, and the lovely Adam Gibbs.
Yeah, I saw that.
Tomorrow morning podcast, the Irish Photography Podcast.
Oh, so they do go on some podcasts then.
Bitter.
Oh,
you just can't help yourself.
Bit twisted.
Bitter much.
I apologise for last week's.
It's like a lemon.
What I meant was
Sucking on a lemon.
I'm not even on the beer look either. Ooh,
No, nor am I.
hello.
what was that?
Firework.
Fireworks.
That was Adam.
Either that or you had a bomb in the house.
Yeah.
I noticed Barry Johnson, Gary, was saying that they still talk about you down at the camera club. And Dave.
Yeah.
God knows what they say.
Yeah. Do you remember that really terrible talk?
Don't ever let him back again. He's boring as hell.
I remember that. I remember that talk because afterwards they do a little sort of in-house competition with a few pictures, and I said, "Oh well, I'll judge it," and they went, "Well, no one's ever done that before." And I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, probably just a bit much." Yeah, I did judge it anyway, but there you go.
Good stuff.
Well, I tell you, talking of Adam Gibbs,
Oh.
I got an early Christmas present from Helen the other day, and
He's got it. Quiet light. He's got another book.
No.
A hat.
It was.
Oh, some mock boots.
Yeah.
Oh, belting.
We was talking, and she said, "Oh, like, what do you want for Christmas?" I said, "Oh, I really don't know." She said, "Oh, I've got something in mind." She said, "But I don't know whether to get it for you or not. And if I do, I need to tell you about it." And I think I came up with another present altogether. And she said, "Oh, I'll get you that." She said, "I'll tell you what I was going to get you, because you keep going on about getting yourself like a really nice pair of wellies." And I went, "Oh, Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, go back to your original idea. So, so actually it was her idea, but my choice of wellies. And they're lovely.
Interesting.
Have you got them now?
And
You can't wear them now till Christmas Day, surely.
Is this for your birthday or Christmas?
Well, it's for Christmas, but obviously I had to choose the ones that I wanted.
So are you going to keep them in a box until Christmas?
Yeah, you need to put them under the tree.
No.
I
You
wore
got
mine
nothing
on
to make
Christmas
up
Day.
for.
I'm with Darren. Get them
I
out.
got a pair of Hunters last year and I wore them on Christmas Day. It's so comfortable. I did.
That's it.
What, and nothing else?
Nothing else. Yeah. Just while I was cooking the
Just carving the turkey.
yeah, cooking the Christmas dinner. So I had an
in your
apron on.
Hunters.
Carving the turkey with nothing on. Oh, I didn't realise we cooked an extra sausage.
Chipolatas.
Yeah, but they fell into the top of the welly. See if I chopped it off. So it's all good.
Careful with that axe, Jamie.
That's a good question actually. What about Christmas presents then? Have any of us thought about what photographically we'd want for Christmas apart from muck boots? Have you been asked by the other half like Darren has?
No. You know that I'm doing photographer.
What about you, Malik?
I've bought myself something, and if she spots it, I'll tell her it's my Christmas present.
Do you want to share, or is it too soon?
Not being cynical at all. Sorry?
Do you want to share, or is it too soon?
Oh no, I'm happy to share. I don't care. It was pitching up tomorrow, apparently, if DPD can find where I live. It's the Lauer 7.5mm f2 prime.
7.5mm. Wow.
16.
It's not fisheye. It's rectilinear, and it's got a filter thread. So
Nice.
I'm slightly tumescent.
I bet you are. Oh,
So what does that calculate?
He's got a widey on. He's got a widey.
So if you put that on your camera, Dave, what would that work out to? I bet 150 mil.
200 zoom.
Telephoto prime. Telephoto
Yeah.
Telephoto fish out.
zoom, sorry.
So I'm looking forward to that because I went MPB don't get them in very often, so I put my name down for one and they emailed me about 7 times, and each time I followed the link and some other bugger had bought it. So the other night I got my email. It's like trying to win the lottery. It's, oh well, I'll click the link and we'll see if I'm lucky this time, and it was still available, so I snaffled it. So I'm very chuffed. But when Mrs. G spots the outgoing, that's my Christmas present.
By the way, if anyone's interested, I've got 12 7.5mm primes available.
Oh, yeah,
So-
bugger.
Oh, and I've still got 70 to 200, by the way. Yeah,
Is that what you've got left?
Oh,
that's all I've got
smooth.
left. Yeah,
Smooth.
yeah.
Buy now while stocks last.
Mine's going as well.
What are you selling? You selling the same one, James?
EF, yeah.
Ooh.
Ah.
How much are you
Well,
selling
so-
that for?
What about the adapter, James?
I'll undercut you.
I'm bothered.
Jesus, man.
About 400, 350, 400.
James,
You'll
are you
never-
going to
you'll
buy
never
one of
sell
those
for that.
new 50?
I wouldn't
Are you
sell
going to
it,
buy one
James.
of those new nifty 50 primes that are just out?
No, I've got the 35 prime anyway. No, to be honest, I've got my eye on the 72-200 f4 RF image stabilisation.
Has that been released yet? Because I know they're about to, aren't they?
Yes, 2 days ago,
Ah, okay. Yeah.
Fair
How much?
enough.
How much?
1600.
Ooh.
You have to wait till Peter McKinnon's reviewed it and see if it's worth the money.
Yeah.
No doubt his video will be up in the next 48 hours
Probably.
with it. He's
Yeah.
reviewing everything at the moment.
He's just done the 50mm, hasn't
Yeah, exactly.
very
That's why I
tempted.
was wondering.
What
Very
have,
tempting.
hang on a second. What have you just got slid in there, Darren?
he? Yeah, what, Darren,
Yeah.
you had an orgasm.
Come on, reveal.
Oh,
Oh, hey, yo.
Pizza.
Pizza.
Yeah, I was
Bloody
trying to,
starving.
I thought what I'd do every now and again, I'd just nod and I'd just kind
I
of,
had one of those as well.
Oh,
But I ate it before we started.
when you're all full
I got
after,
in 5 minutes before I hit record. Sorry.
I'll
I
be
got that
having
bit.
chips, curry and a large cod.
So come on then, Mally. What's your Christmas present that Santa's bought you?
I'm not really saying. I don't actually know yet what I'm gonna have for Christmas because you have to think at kids and you can't just buy things willy nilly, you know.
No.
So I'm not sure what I'm getting for Christmas yet. Got a bit
we've
of an
already
itch.
pulled a cracker. You've opened cracker. What's that?
What was that? Nothing.
Yeah, but that what you just showed us, that really wasn't a Christmas present, was it? I mean, that's like a pre-Christmas present, really. You know, that's just like a lead up, just getting you in the mood for Christmas.
I agree with you, and I'm just recording this on my phone. Can you say that again so I can send it to the wife? say that again. I've already asked
He's
her.
He's going to be getting a CCKO variable ND, and that's his lot.
And a pair of socks with Santa on them. That's it. I do want a new drone, and they've just released the Mavic Mini 2.
Yes, and it does 4K.
Yeah.
And Peter McKinnon's mate had it out in a blizzard. He had a 30 knot sustained, and it was a blizzard, and it didn't blow away.
No,
that was quite impressive.
I was very impressed.
What do they retail at?
$560 odd for the. No, it's $560 odd for the kit.
It's way more expensive than the last year's first of the minis.
Is it still the same weight though? Does it still come under the license?
249 grams.
Okay.
Wow.
Looks
I
a
was
bit
tempted
smaller.
for the 4K, but I can't justify it because I don't use it often enough. Whereas Mr. Overland can't get enough of it, I noticed.
I haven't had it out, Mrs. for the last several videos, so I thought
I was watching you this afternoon buzzing around West Norfolk.
I did look at the forecast and look at the wind strength, and I thought, there's my planned scope, and it was about 20 mile an hour winds. But so because I got there so early, and I just kept it below the trees, and I was in a corner where there was a bit of shelter. I got it out and had a bit of a zoom through the trees as well.
Yeah,
why not?
Yeah,
I've not took my drone out for 18 months, I suppose. The last time I flew my drone might be 2 years.
You've got a Mavic 2 though, haven't you, Darren?
Yeah,
Or a Mavic Pro.
Mavic Pro.
Yeah,
Mavic Pro.
That's a lovely drone.
That is. I should get rid of it. Really, I don't use it. So.
See, I started.
Don't talk with your mouth full.
Sorry, I know. Sorry, I won't eat no more.
I'd imagine the Mavic would be brilliant for your wildlife videos.
Not scary.
Not
Sounds
at all.
good.
Yeah.
You could dress it up.
Chasing zebras across.
You could dress it up as a Canadian geese and fly with them.
You could start a Muntjac stampede.
No, I must admit, at the moment, my plans are to put the wildlife on the shelf for a few months now. Now we're kind of coming into, we are into autumn and winter. I'd like to go back to landscape now. Now it's like a little bit more interesting. Yeah.
There's all your subs gone. All your wildlife subs just fell off a cliff.
No, I think as well. I mean, a lot of the birds will migrating and stuff. But as I say, landscape is my first love, and as I say, because things are looking a little bit more interesting now, then I'll go back to that. Who knows? Next spring I might go back to the wildlife.
Don't worry, Darren. I'll edit all that out. No one will ever know. You'll be fine. So on to the topics. Should we get on to the topics?
No.
So, first question, first topic. This is from you, Darren. So, if anyone out there, I don't think we've got any woodland photographers here at all, have we? No.
Yeah.
No.
Never done it.
No.
Well, my next video is all about woodland.
Yeah.
Go on.
Well, you said, does anyone outside of photography actually like woodland photography?
Okay, yeah. So what I meant by that was, I really enjoyed the woodland, obviously during autumn. That's when I think like most people really, that's when we really enjoy woodland photography, and where we live especially. There is obviously the silver birch trees are beautiful, but there's also a lot of pine trees. We don't kind of get the old kind of gnarly trees, perhaps covered in moss, that you do a little bit kind of further north. But what I meant by people other than us as photographers, I don't often see a lot of woodland shots hung on people's walls. And that's what made me ask the question. I wasn't putting woodland down, because I say, I've been out shooting woodland. My next video is all about woodland. I've been over Holme Fen, I think, kind of like 4 or 5 times, with Jade. Love it over there. But it just made me wonder, if it's really only photographers that really enjoy woodland.
Well, it's interesting. Did you read Stuart McLennan's comment on last week's podcast? Because he made a comment, obviously in response to what you were talking about with regards to what sells in a gallery and what doesn't sell.
Yeah.
And he put a link in to a shot that he's got in his gallery, I think from Neil Burnell, and it was a woodland shot. It was a really nice atmospheric shot of some silver birch. I think there was a hoarfrost as well, so it had some real nice white crispy hoarfrost on the silver birches. And he said, he's never sold one. They just don't sell. Whereas stick a panoramic with a glorious sunrise on it, and it'll sell.
That was my point. And please don't think I'm trying to do woodland down to anyone that does it, because we do it. I just meant, does it sell? Is it appealing to anybody outside of photography?
I think woodland photography is a hard genre to appreciate, and I think that often I'm sure at one point we've all said, I'm not very good at woodland photography, and that's because it's so difficult. I've said it loads. That's because it's so difficult, I think. But before I started to improve, before I started to really take notice and do a lot more woodland photography, I used to look at a lot of woodland things and think, I just don't get that shot at all. And there'd be lots of people raving over it, and oh my god, it's amazing and it's fantastic, and I just look and go, I don't understand it. And I think that's the thing. I think it's one of those things that's kind of an acquired taste. You have to take more shots in woodland, and you have to appreciate how difficult it is to get that shot to then appreciate the shot, I think.
You know what makes it hard, don't you?
What?
Trying to find the order in the chaos.
It's the order in the chaos, yeah.
Do you know what? All I'm thinking to answer you, Darren, is all I keep seeing, and there's a few different artists, but I'll just say this one because he's very popular. Constable. What you get with a lot of commercial woodland is that it's a scene. So there might be a little cottage, a house, or there might be people going for water.
That's not really woodland, though, is it? That's more the living landscape.
Yes, but predominantly it's massive amount of woodland in it, with a narrative, with a story. Yeah. So what we were referring to, I think, is we shoot woodland as it's just secular. It's very much the trees, and I do think people might have a problem with understanding it because it becomes quite abstract. It becomes without a story if you don't see the trees as the story. So I think the commerciality of it, and to answer your question, is that for people to appreciate it, it needs a scene, or it needs more of a story. Hence the path, Gary, where you say, I know I said about paths, but this image is awesome with a path in it, and but that's your story, and that's taking you into the picture. And that's when people relate to this, James.
I think that's what I mean by it being an acquired taste, because it's not, like you say, a standard photograph or standard landscape photograph has a focal point. It might have a leading line. It might obey certain rules, like the rule of thirds or that sort of thing. Whereas a typical woodland shot, especially contemporary woodland shots that you see all over Twitter and all over social media nowadays, from the let's say the better standard of woodland photographers, they don't have that narrative, like you said, Manny. They don't have those elements of the shot. It's much more, like you say, abstract. It's much more light and dark and shapes and lines. I think that's what woodland photography is in this age, and that's why it's hard for people to just look at it and go, I really like that, because it doesn't follow those normal set of rules that you have for landscape photography.
If you break it down, though, it can still follow the same elements. I mean, you talk about isolating subjects, so that subject can be your main focal point. Your leading lines can be your vertical branches, trees. So if you break it down different elements, it is the same sort of.
Possibly,
but
I think it's harder to
get
pick
it,
out.
though, do they?
If you're non-photographer, it's harder to recognise.
I think isn't that why mist and fog is so important in woodland, because to a wider audience that makes the image look a lot more attractive. than to a
moody
photographer that
animation.
to a photographer would appreciate light, contrast, luminosity, and things like that. But to the wider audience, they see some mist. It's a magical woodland scene, and
Especially if there's a person. Did you see Owen's
Yeah,
shot
I love
today?
that. Love
There's
that.
a
Lovely.
person, then there's a story. It's woodland, there's mist, there's a person, like a silhouette of a person. I get that. I get as like someone would want to kind of hang that on their wall,
What about me on my birthday? I went out Monday and I went to Billinge Woods, which I was telling, I think I said to Gary, it's a beach woodland. And I'd walked all around this woods and the light had been beautiful all day. And I got to the top and a young lady with a Labrador ran through the shot and ran down the path in a bright red jacket. I couldn't believe it. I was like, quick.
take a quick mono.
Oh,
colour pop it. That's interesting though, because you're right about people, like you were saying just then, Darren. When I went to Ashridge, I took a series of shots, and the one that was the most popular was just a single person walking down a track with trees either side, and that's what appeals. That's the one that I took.
Very cliche.
Yeah, I took that as an afterthought. I was like, well, I was literally leaving the woods, and I just thought, that looks quite nice. I like the light. I'm going to take this shot. But that's the one that everyone likes. That's the one that people can see.
But doesn't this whole subject come back to things that we've discussed in the past, where we talk about what a photographer might feel engaged by, or Joe Average who walks into a gallery who wants to buy the Lake District equivalent of a stick of rock with a present from Blackpool written through it. So, they're oh look, there's a lovely sunset over Ullswater. That's for me. That's going on the dining room wall. I've toyed with woodland photography and made a complete pig's ear of it, and that's why none of you have seen any of it.
No, you did one of Newborough Forest, mate. It was lovely.
I maybe got away. What I've been doing is watching, and we've mentioned him earlier in this very podcast, assuming it doesn't get cut, Adam Gibbs. Adam, for me, is almost the master of woodland. Okay, where he lives, the woods are particularly spectacular, the Vancouver Island stuff. But he certainly has, and muck boots, I might add. But what he does extremely well, and one thing that he said in a video 12 months ago, don't know. He said, all the rules, standard landscape rules of composition go out the window with woodland. All you're interested in is what the light is doing. And I thought, actually, yes, that's a really good point. And then he created some images and illustrated his point. And when you looked at them, you could see that everything that we take for granted, because we've learnt our simple rules and we can apply those in less challenging situations. And he says, don't worry about it, just follow the light. And I think there are two really good examples of what we've done. Whether we did it consciously or not, who knows? I would say we probably did. Gary, you went out and you stood there and you said, this is probably the best picture that I've got today, when you were in Beechwood near Cambridge. That image with the light just catching that clump of leaves that hung over the path. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. But it wasn't remotely anything to do with standard landscape compositions. It was about the light. Mally, you did it when you were at the stagnant pond. You were out with the girls and they were running about, and you were going, oh, I can almost smell the rot coming out of this pond. But you got some amazing images based on what the light was doing. And I think that I'm trying to perfect this and not really succeeding very well. Maybe at some point I'll share some and take the flak. But for me, I think there's a big distinction between what photographers enjoy and what the general public enjoys. And I come back to what I said last week. It sort of doesn't matter if what you do as a photographer and you come home and you go, I really enjoyed that, I had a great time, and I've got a really nice image. And the stuff that Jamie, the one I was looking at today, some beautiful images. We all know that nobody would go into a gallery and buy them, but that's not the point.
No.
And so,
Spot on,
it
Mary.
sort of doesn't matter.
On, Mary. Nailed it there, Mary.
On a side note, Dave, you said that we kind of covered this in a previous podcast. I think every topic we talk about, we've covered in a previous podcast at some point.
Okay.
Just delivered differently.
I like
Exactly.
the idea that I like though the focus in the conversation with David about light though. I mean, because I've argued this before about light, and it became most apparent to me in my learning of photography over these years. The more I got in Woodland, that light is actually a very key component. If there's too much, you find yourself crying into your pictures and deleting them and going, why did I spend all day there?
Watch my next vlog for that.
It can help simplify it though as well, because if you've got the light and you've actually got what looks without the light quite a messy scene, actually by using the light, then you're drawing the eye just to that light and you're trying to disregard the rest of the mess, and by processing it in a way that enhances that light, it makes it even better. And that's the trouble with Woodland, isn't it? It can be so messy, and you need to try and simplify it and make a composition that's more pleasing to the eye.
It's subtle light. That's the key. It's just little, like when I was in Beechwoods the other week, there's a shot I took down a track, and when it was bright, when the sun was coming in from the side, and when it was bright, every single beech tree was blowing out. It was just too much, and the ground was just too much, and then you almost had to catch that point in between the sun being in and being out. Just as it's coming out, just starts to put the light on, then that's when the shot works. But if it's too much contrast, it just doesn't work.
Oh, how exciting is it though when you stood there and you're turning around and looking, and there's just like beech trees, just one branch sticking out, and all the orange and yellow just goes ping, and you're like, but what you're photographing is just so secular and abstract that only photographers would go, look at that light.
Yeah, very true.
I'll tell you what though, talking about Nev Cartledge again, Nev posted a picture the other day. I think he put it on Twitter.
Yes.
Now that I thought that was a great shot. That and I could actually see that going into print and that being quite appealing to people.
He's a
I
master
think
of light,
what we've just spoke about, I think, and James, you mentioned like a cliche shot, and sometimes I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No, it's not.
That's what I think. Sometimes, I think sometimes we shy away from it because it is quite a cliche, a run-of-the-mill shot. But the masses like it, including like me. I include myself in the masses. I see a cliche shot and I just think that's really nice. I do like
just
that.
Good to get something different.
Yeah. I think take that shot. But if that's the only shot you're going to take, you're not going to progress as a photographer. So take that shot, definitely, if it's something you like. But then, especially with Woodland, you got to look and it's like you've got to practice. You practice and you practice and you practice getting it to work, and it's not easy. And half hit rate is bloody awful. Like I've just recorded I recorded the vlog the other week. I'm editing it now. 4 of the 7 shots that I talked about, I couldn't even process because they were terrible. So I've had to.
Why were they terrible? The thing is, Gary, what made you take them in the first place to your feelings now? There must have been something.
I think that in camera and on the back of a camera, shots often look better than they do when you get them home. I think there's processing that goes on in camera that shows you the shot, and you look at it and go, wow, I really like that, especially with electronic viewfinders as we all have now. And when you get them home, they're a much flatter image, and you actually start to process them and go, the light as I saw it on the day doesn't exist in this image now.
But right there is a really good topic. I think that would help people. Here's 4 images that I took, and here's why I'm just going to throw them away. Because people will get a lot from that. Your understanding, your knowledge and your competency as a photographer, where you can adjudicate your own shots and say, yeah, this is why it looked good in the field, This is why, with hindsight, it doesn't. That right there is a really powerful video.
Next week, I'll have a video out. Actually,
Next week's podcast should just be Dave, because he's absolutely slam dunking it today.
Sorry.
Boom.
No, it's good, Dave.
Bang on,
you carry on
David.
making us look stupid.
Bang on. He's right. You should, Gary.
Yeah, well, I think that's a really good idea. That is a really, really good idea, and it's. But I do think it's important to practice those and have those shots that don't work, because if you only ever take shots that work, you're not pushing yourself. You know.
Yeah. I took one that was in my vlog last week that it looked great on the back of the screen. Well, actually, the brief time I looked at it, because it was chucking it down the rain at the time, so I couldn't actually spend a lot of time looking at the back of the screen. But then when I got back, it just didn't work. It was just too the colours of the tree that I'd taken. It was just too dominating, and it just lost everything else.
Is that the one you turned black and white?
I turned it mono in the end, and actually it worked better because the colour wasn't distracting anymore. It was just two tones, and therefore it made it a more balanced image, in my opinion. Anyway, in my personal opinion, but that sometimes works for me, that I can actually see it when I get back in the screen and think, I can see what I was thinking at the time, but in hindsight it just didn't work. And you either ditch it or you try and make something of it, and that time it worked.
I've got an interesting idea, because what jumped to mind then, it's your brain that thinks that. Like Gary thinks he's 4 shots, it's his brain. Imagine going out and doing a shoot, doing a vlog, and then passing the images over to someone else without looking at them. So all you've got is the memory of that day and taking them shots. So you haven't got to that point where you're sieving out and you're going yes, no, and you collect. Say you'd get a collection of the images from that day and you'd pass them on, and then we would all. I think that'd be really interesting, because where others would say, I'll throw that in the bin, someone else might think, I quite like that, and we're back to the subjective. Amazing, isn't it? Amazing photography. I love it. It's just, I love it.
Didn't we say on a previous podcast that one of the things we might try was to process each other's images? Didn't we say that we were going to give each other their raw files and see what we can do with them? I think
what we should... You're right, Jamie, but I think what we should do is do it like a Secret Santa, where we don't know whose raw file we're processing. Because I happen to have an online thing.
Whose is this silver birch and whose is that mountain?
Yeah. Whose is this one from Le Frigtan? I don't know. So we've had a few questions in, and I guess we should do this like Gary's random picker thing, but it's not going to be random. So we're just going to put the... You're right there.
Gary's random picker.
Or Gary's unrandom picker. So I'm not going to lie, we've picked these out. So the first one, I don't know who it's from, because Jamie didn't say who it was from. But someone's posted in and said, how far would you go to change a composition on location, i.e. move logs, twigs, rocks, etc.?
I would move a little dead leaf, a little twiglet. That's about it, really. If I don't like it, I just move twiglet. Yeah, a little twiglet, a little crisp on the floor. I said piglet.
What about a quaver?
Who put the triglets there?
What about a jelly baby?
Nails, twiglets.
Sorry.
No, if it's that much of interference, then I just move around.
So you move yourself rather than...
I move myself, but I do like a bit of gardening, especially woodland as well. Just break a few branches off. What is movable, I'll move.
Surely somebody is, or someone else, should I say, because I know I've done it, has strategically placed the odd leaf every now and again. Have you never done that? No,
I know you think I did on that fungus shot, but I didn't.
Jamie has.
I didn't. I did not. It was there.
It's okay.
Do you want me to tell you a story? Do you want me to tell you a story?
Tell you a story.
Tell you a story. Do you want me to tell you a story? I went for Photograph SS Denham out at New Brighton, and walking out there was hundreds of starfish, and I thought, awesome idea. Now you look at starfish, you think you think they don't move. You look at a starfish, you think Start again. Yeah.
All right, hang on a minute. So there's this starfish. It's just moving in on a winkle, and this big hairy bastard comes along and hauls it off, parks it on a rock. The starfish is going, what the
Yeah, but what
I
did
was
it
just
do?
about to eat a winkle.
What did it do though? I thought, I've got this wonderful, it was amazing cloud. I've got this wonderful idea. I'll do a long exposure. In my head, I'm thinking, starfish don't move.
No.
Fucking hell, they do.
Olympic runner. You chose the wrong one.
It's like that in the
Up on
picture.
2 legs.
It was blurred as anything. I looked at it and I thought, this is going to look awesome. It's got a leading line with all its legs have been all like making sand patterns, and it looked beautiful. I thought, right, get 16 million, or I'll set up 30-second explode, get that cloud moving. Got back home, looked, starfish was like that.
Well, you've moved logs in a video, Gary. I've seen it. So you've got to come clean.
Well, I moved.
You've
I
got a
moved
few
the log
logs
in.
in woods, haven't you, Gary?
I moved.
What kind of logs, Jamie?
I've wanted to, but I haven't
Soft
been able to
ones.
so far. I've moved a few logs, but generally they make the competition 10 times worse. Oh, fireworks back out again. So
Rob was nearly on the wrong end of one.
Yeah.
you know something now. He definitely doesn't watch. He doesn't listen, Rob, because he hasn't mentioned it at all. He hasn't commented at all about it. So I've got no problem moving bits and pieces as long as it isn't damaging anything. So if I think, if you're on the beach, for instance, and you see a nice bit of driftwood, and it might enhance your shot, then move it.
Or a
That's the
starfish.
problem. Or a
As long as it don't
starfish.
become
Yeah.
too obvious.
Yeah, I mean, if you got one like right in, sort of absolutely in a spot on position, then yeah. But
You've got to be careful. You shouldn't really take the fun out of searching for the right composition as well. If you just get up and move things about, then where's the fun in that?
So what do you feel about a selfie then?
Done it once just for a laugh. Not a lot.
Why is it when you do a selfie you have to stand like that?
So you get the outline.
Can't you not just go, hey? Why is it?
it'd be better sort like that, wouldn't it?
I'm going to do my teapot impression.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right.
What's
So
it? What's the question?
Oh,
Moving rocks.
yeah. So does anyone else want to talk about moving anything in the field? Darren, do you move anything, or would you?
He'd move a cow.
Was it his way?
I was when you guys were chatting, I was just trying to think, and other than Woodland, I have a bit of a tidy up if there's something that's dead and it's a bit messy. And I was really trying to think, and I probably have, especially perhaps in the early days, but I honestly can't remember. I don't think I do. Other than, as I say, a little bit of housekeeping in the woodland, I don't think I really do move anything around. It's difficult. What else could you move around other than, you can't move a rock around, or so it's got to be woodland, hasn't it, that you predominantly move?
I remember seeing a fella dragging a massive big log at Derwent.
Yes.
He was dragging this log, and I'm watching him.
Who, me?
No. This fella was dragging like half a tree along. And I'm watching him, and then he sets his tripod up, takes picture. And all bloody dragging it log was it picture, I thought.
The trail.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Massive log though, and it weren't even attractive. It just looked like a fucking big log. I was like, what are you doing?
Oh, do you know what? I've just remembered. I did remove. I was down. Where was I? I was at West Runton, photographing down the beach, and there was a huge like piece of timber in the distance. It wasn't with the scene. It was, what was it? It was like I don't know. It was like about kind of a 12 by 2. This kind of almost like a huge scaffold ball type thing. And I went down the beach and I picked that up and I threw that to one side.
I remember that. It was in your vlog as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's probably about the biggest. I'm just thinking of that. That's probably about the biggest thing I've ever moved. But that shouldn't have been
But
on the
surely,
beach.
if we as landscape
4x2.
photographers say that we're not going to relocate something in our composition, that's as ridiculous as a studio photographer gets a model in. She's leaning against the wall in the corner, and he goes, "Oh shit, I'll have to photograph her there then because she's not in the right place." It's ridiculous. You wouldn't say, "Oh, love, you need to stand in the middle of the studio. Oh, you're cheating then. You directed her." That's patently ludicrous. So it seems to me that if you do a bit of gardening or relocate something, in what way is that causing any issues? Because if you say to somebody, "Oh yeah, well I moved this log so it was just there," so what? It's your picture, who cares? But the fact remains that if you then do some wanton vandalism, so you're in some woodland, there's a branch that's in the way, and you break it off, that is patently out of order.
Yeah, that's
And
different.
if you were spotted doing that, somebody should give you a good kicking. But
Or trample a line of bluebells down just to get you a leading line through.
exactly. But the
grow
point
back.
I'm making it.
Get off the
Is
fence,
that
Dave. Get off the
Take
fence.
some years, but
But we all understand what aspects are doable. And Gary, you've sat alongside me doing some post-processing where I relocated stuff in post, where I moved a rock so it was in line with the sunset.
I wouldn't.
But I did it in post because it was too heavy to move in the field.
Now that's another question. In post processing, how far? I know how far Dave goes. How far?
All the way, baby, all the way.
How far do you go in post processing, and where do you draw the line?
I
doesn't
only
matter.
remove things in post processing because
doesn't-
I don't know how to move them. I'm not good enough in
Isn't that the
Photoshop to be able to
golden
do
But
it.
back to the changing the sky or doing all. At the end of the day,
it's up to you. It's personal preference, not for me.
but moving half a tree across a bay.
That's ridiculous. But if you're having to clone out stuff, you've composed it wrongly. It's not.
Well,
Do you remember-
not necessarily, because
It depends at what extent. What
sometimes
percentage?
you're bound by your confines. You're bound by your location. You can't. For instance, I took a shot in ages ago. Took a shot in Snowdonia at the top of Nant Gwynant, right at the very top. Yeah, you drive down. You drive down the pass to Clyn Gwynant at the bottom, and right at the very top, there's a really nice sort of view down to the lake. But all along the left hand side, you've got little telegraph poles and bits and pieces. But they're not. They don't make a line. They're just sort of quite irregular.
You did it in Mallorca.
Hey?
Was it Mallorca,
Lanzarote.
Gary?
Lanzarote.
Lanzarote.
Yes. And I don't have a problem with removing stuff like that because it's not my fault. It's there. I didn't put it there, and I can't take that shot without. I can't take that shot. There is no way I could move anywhere unless I actually literally picked up my camera and sodded off another 100 miles in a different direction. That I could take a shot, I don't know, similar to that without those there. So if they're in it and I don't want them in it, I'll take them out. I don't think that's a bad. Obviously,
It's not your fault there's a power station in front of a lovely lake, is there? We just move that power station out of the way.
Exactly. Yeah.
I've got a new backpack and it's got this new. I noticed the other day it's got this new space for a chainsaw.
I mean, going back to moving stuff in the environment, I have kicked over a shed at Dungeness.
Kicked over a what?
Kicked over a shed. There was a rickety shed.
I think you need to cut that.
There was a rickety shed at Dungeness, and I kicked it over for more effect to make it lean a bit more.
Tell him.
That was Uncle Albert's.
There's some old boy there now going, "Some bastard's been and kicked my shed this
I'm
weekend."
going to just point out I didn't really kick over a shed at Dungeness. I just thought I'd see what the reaction was of you guys. But
You should have done.
Yeah.
That would have been great.
I mean, it's not there anymore.
I wanted to cut down that laundry at Bottomere, to be honest. I'm sick and tired of it.
You don't like
There's
that,
one
do
in
you?
Lamberis I'm not
That
keen
one,
on.
someone posted a brilliantly photoshopped
Yes.
picture saying that had been knocked down or
Chainsawed.
kicked over or chainsawed, and it did look really realistic, I have to say, and it did cause a bit of an uproar, I think.
I tell you what, I think if that tree was cut down, I think that would
Blaming
actually make the national news, I reckon. I mean, no one outside of photography
Shouldn't laugh.
really kind of knows about that tree. But I think if it was gone, I think everyone would know about it. I think it'd be a really big deal.
You know what you should do, Dave? When lockdown's over, you should go there, take the photo, and clone the tree out. Totally clone the tree out of the photo, so it's not there, and say, "Look at this lovely view," and see if anyone picks up on it.
Yeah. Position yourself
You're
as
on.
a tree.
Tree selfie. You could do a tree selfie.
Selfie.
Yeah. What's the stance, James? Because you got to run in really fast and
Yeah.
stand there like a muppet.
Yeah. Standing like you shat yourself.
So finally, we got another question, and it was, what non-UK location would you love to visit if you had the chance, and why?
Dead easy, that. Go on.
Alaska.
Who's first?
Go on then. What would she say?
What?
Who's starting? Who's going first? Because Alaska's not real, is it? That's.
No. Come on, James. You'll have to go
Why is
first
Alaska
now.
not real?
Are you genuine? You would go to Alaska for photography?
Oh yeah, the wilderness. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, absolutely.
Right,
Yeah.
sorry, I
Wilderness.
take it all back.
The snow. Yeah, absolutely. But there's a number of places, to be honest. British Columbia, which I've been, it's beautiful. New Zealand, Iceland, Asda.
As the car park.
I don't know.
For me, I'd like to go back to Senja in Norway.
Oh,
Yeah, that was.
no
We,
go fly.
I know we spoke about this before, but we had 3 nights in Tromsø, 3 nights at the Isle of Senja, and then a night back in Tromsø to fly home. And if we went back, I would go to Senja for perhaps 5 nights. I think because the aurora there is absolutely incredible. It's the darkest skies I've ever seen.
Oh.
The sky is like nothing I could even describe. Even, you know, when I go to my friends in the Alps, when that's amazing, that sky, but this is on a different level. But I wasn't there long enough to kind of explore like during the day, and it's got some really like beautiful mountains and like really aggressive, really rugged. I would recommend that to anybody. And if I'm not going to go to Iceland again, that I would go straight back to Senja.
Aren't we doing a Pubcast tour to Senja? Wasn't
I'd
that?
love to do that.
No
You guys
way.
would love
took-
we
it.
were before lockdown, weren't we?
Yeah, we were talking about that.
Talked about it.
Yeah, going to hire a boat,
Had a ship.
big boat. Yeah, ship.
Oil
That's
tanker
what
as
they're
well.
called. Yeah, yeah. We could
Are
all
we
do.
asking
We could all do a
Brendan to
talk,
come with
couldn't we? We'll do a little, presentation, and yeah, not a bad idea. That.
Yeah, I think we had it booked. It was called the Costa Concordia, but
Yeah. We couldn't get anyone to drive it.
it got too close to the rock.
It'd all been on the old.
Yeah. Yeah. Where would you go, Gary?
Well, I've said this before in one of my Q&A things a while back. I think I'd like to go to Thailand. But
I'm sure you would. What about the
boys.
photography reasons?
No,
Oh, that was coming.
no,
Bangkok, I'm sure.
For photography reasons. You know, you get those bays, those
Gary Glitter. Go on, your turn.
yeah. You know, you get those bays where you have the sea stacks, and the,
Yeah.
Carry on, mate. Go on.
Go on, Gal.
well, it's funny you should. It's
I want
funny,
to be in your gang.
it's funny you should ask that, James, because quite like to go to Iceland.
Right.
Yeah, I've always fancied Iceland.
He's getting the edit ready. He's getting the edit ready there. Well, I'd like to go to Iceland.
Cut
the glitter out.
No, come on.
Sort of South China Sea.
I agree
those
with
sea
those
stacks.
stacks.
And, yeah,
Yes.
and you get the old sort of real classic. Can you hear the fireworks going on?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
And
I just thought he was farting.
yeah, no,
I thought
yeah.
someone tried to come out of the closet.
Yeah.
Aye.
No, I did that years ago. Yeah, no,
James Bond Island. James Bond Island.
Yeah, with the old sea stacks, and also you get those
The
really
beach.
sort of classic images of the fishermen with their. It's not racist to say with their silly hats.
Racist.
Stereotypical.
What?
Well, Dave, you can advise
Is
me
it
on this.
racist to talk about James's hat?
Dave,
I'm not getting involved.
you know, they're sort of.
Nothing I've said in the past is getting close to this.
I must be Australian. You know what I mean?
Hey, we've got quite a few people watching from New Zealand and Australia, you know.
Have we?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Right.
Hello, Anna.
Hello. Hello. What's I doing? Anyway, Iceland, Gary. Yeah.
Yeah, Iceland. Yeah, Iceland would be my preferred location. Yeah.
Cool.
Now, if I can cut that together,
No,
that'll work.
you got to
That'll be a miracle.
Yeah. Best of luck.
Or you could just put the music in going, "Awoo, dun dun dun."
Anyone else?
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Please move on.
David?
I've got some. I actually had 2 trips booked for this year. I was going to go to Norway to hang out with Willie Jarl Nielsen, who was going to show me around, not Lofoten, but close to. He lives up Narvik way, north of the Arctic Circle, and that was supposed to have happened at the arse end of March, so lockdown put the kibosh on that. And then round about early September, I had a trip planned to California, to somewhere that I've been before a couple of times, but not really as a photographer. To the east. You're right there.
Sorry, go
To
on.
the to the eastern Sierras around Mammoth Lakes and Mono Lake and that sort of neck of the woods. And I've been there years ago with a really basic camera and printed the images and stuck them on walls and really loved them, and always thought I'd like to go back with my modern kit and do something interesting. And I actually had it booked in, and so that, if I had to pick one, would be the top priority for next year.
Oh, Mono Lake, beautiful.
I've always, even before I got into photography, I've always wanted to go to Canada, and I've never been to Canada. And now I'm into photography. I think there's even more of a reason I'd love to go to the Rockies.
Yeah.
I'd love to experience those turquoise waters and the mountains in the background. But funnily enough, I've got a friend that emigrated to Canada several years ago, and I watch his updates on Facebook in the winter and the amount of snow that they get up there. I would love just to experience that volume of snow, really, because I love the winter, I love the snow. So just
I've
being
been,
out there
Jamie.
and
Yeah.
have you?
I went to Lake Louise, which is Alberta.
Oh, yeah.
Turquoise
Alberta.
lakes, absolutely beautiful. But there's so extremes from the winter and the summer.
Yeah.
But yeah,
No, it looks
Beautiful
amazing
country.
place. So I'd love to go there definitely.
Have we missed anyone? Malik?
Mala.
Japan.
I like to go to Shropshire.
There's too many places. Japan is top on. But then there's Vancouver Island, there's Canadian Rockies, there's Oregon Coast. I think Oregon Coast. I'll go with Oregon Coast just for the sea movement.
Can't see old Nick Page.
Oh, it's incredible place.
What about New England for autumn? That's just come to me. The colours, the maples.
Darren went there again. I know we mentioned him earlier, but he went there. He goes there every year with his friends, doesn't he?
Darren.
Spoonley. He's put a couple of videos
New
out a
England?
while back. Yes, with the autumn, the fall colours, incredible.
Yeah, he did a series,
series,
year
yes, he did.
before last from there, and it was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
I remember that. So who's picked?
Anyway.
Who's picked colder climates? I picked a colder
Yeah.
climate. So did
Yeah, I'd like to
James.
go in the
me.
snow in the Canada snow.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
August t-shirt. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Another place actually which I haven't mentioned that I'd love to go to is Gran Canaria. I saw there was a Mads Peter Everson did 3 videos from Gran Canaria.
Yes,
And I think
been
that
there
those,
as well.
I think those places are really underrated.
Yeah.
You know,
Volcanic, you mean?
Yeah, but Gran Canaria's got sand dunes, it's got mountains, it's got woodland, it's got waterfalls, it's got a mini.
Where do we know that sounds like that?
It's warm.
Anglesey. It's not warm.
yeah, okay, not like
No,
that.
it's a nice holiday destination to go on the beaches.
I've been Gran Canaria 4 times.
Oh, yeah.
Canaria 4 times, and I went on a safari cruise up into the craters, high up, and the differences between environments and landscapes, and also the history as well. Because early, they tried to say that they weren't Homo sapien, but early forms of man used to live in caves in certain parts of Gran Canaria, and they were really 6 foot tall, blue eyes, blonde hair. Very strange how there was
Master
these.
race.
Yeah, but they did live there, and there's so much like actual history behind the place that people think, oh, Gran Canaria, go there, play golf, go on holiday,
exactly.
sunny. But the high mountains are extremely high, and the dark skies are extremely dark skies when you get up like 2,000 meters.
There's a specific shot there with a horseshoe bend
That's
that overlooks one of the settlements, one of the conurbations there, and it's a brilliant shot at night.
and it's great for to go with the wife, get a beach holiday.
Exactly. And when I went to Lanzarote, it's a barren, really barren place, but I loved the photography there. And there are other places that I didn't vlog where I went to take photos the year before. There's a shipwreck out in Arrecife, the capital. There's a huge boat called the Temple Hall that's run aground, and it makes for a fantastic photo.
Gran Canaria is a cracking shout, because it's so accessible.
It is. Well, that's the thing. It's there's so much there. You've got dunes, you've got mountains, you've got
Mas
forests,
Palomas.
you've got waterfall.
Did you say?
Mas Palomas. It's where the
Mas
dunes
Palomas
are.
is the sand dune.
But it's amazing. I think, like you say, it's just an easy sort of holiday.
Even Tenerife.
And
Tenerife.
and Watney's Red Barrel and egg and chips.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a quick story about Gran Canaria. Me and Dawn went on a camel ride across Mas Palomas, and off we went off into hills, and we said, right, we'll get off here and we'll head off back. We'll walk back. I said, I want to go and see these sand dunes, and they shift like the Sahara. It's Saharan sand. It's amazing views. You can see for miles, but there's just these lumps and sand dunes. I said, come on, we need to get off here. Dropped down out the sand dunes onto a beach and started walking along this beach, completely oblivious to the idea that we shouldn't be on this beach, until I started seeing people going, and I thought,
Excited as well.
oh, he's got a lot of metal on his lad. We've walked into somewhere we shouldn't have. There was nothing but people with no clothes on and lots of piercing. Very surreal.
Like the Wicker Man.
And exactly where was that?
just off Mas Palomas.
Asking for a friend.
Playa
Three
del
words,
Ingles. Playa del Ingles, Mas Palomas.
Okay.
So was it the fact you didn't have the piercings, or was it?
No,
the fact
this
that,
this
it's
guy
like,
this guy could have
place
to get
opened,
me kit off.
this guy could have built a car with his cock. I've never seen anything quite like it.
What was it? The shape of a
Yeah, we
wrench?
can all do that.
It's like, whoa, put it away, lad. Jeez. Yeah, I swear he had a can opener on it.
Swiss Army one, was it?
Yeah.
As long as you can get the top off a bottle of purple mousse, happy
He
days.
could have done.
Like that.
Excuse me, mate, you couldn't just cheers, thanks very much.
Well, if he couldn't do it, I bet his wife could.
Yeah. Well, I'm not even going there.
Anyway, and on that, I think that's all for this week. Thank you ever so much for watching and listening. If you're listening on the podcast, we'll see you all next week. All right, Dave. Dave's gone.
Dave's away.
Is Gary trying to do a sensible outro?
After we left that outbreak. All
On
that timing.
note.
Like a tin of corned beef.
Sorry.
Have you got anything?
Take two.
No, it's
take
fine.
two,
We'll
mate.
just carry
Take
on.
two.
Have you got anything to add before we go, Darren? Is there any last minute little interjections you want to make?
No,
Oh,
not
yeah,
today.
what's this week, Darren?
I've got one bit of pizza left, so let's wrap this up and then I can finish this
What
off.
flavour pizza is it, Darren?
I have no idea, mate. It's just loads of stuff on it.
Oh,
It's very crunchy.
Yeah, I know. I'm so sorry. I've been eating this for an hour and a half now.
Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you all next week. Goodbye.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye bye.
sit there.
Oh, Jesus.